Let's make some bad decisions.
Did you bring any food?
Tall boys only. We're fasting for freedom. Honey, are you sure you tightened that drain plug? The boat's taking on a lot of water. Hold my beer, watch this. Let's make some bad decisions.
Did you bring any food?
Tall boys only. We're fasting for freedom. Honey, are you sure you tightened that drain plug? The boat's taking on a lot of water. Hold my beer, watch this.
All right, I wanted to put this up front in the video because I'm going to quit posting on that cybersecurity guy, my geopolitical videos. I have a new channel on YouTube. It's called the FloridaMNN News Network. That's FloridaMNN, nice, simple, short. FloridaMNN. Please subscribe there and can start watching the videos there for the next, well, month or so. I'll continue to post both places. But after that, it's just going to be the FloridaMNN News Network. See you there. All right, this is what I'm walking through today. For some reason, the St. John's Water Authority hasn't gotten in here and cut the grass. Now, the danger here is ticks and snakes. You can't see the snakes hiking through this. Anyway, nothing's bitten me yet. Let's get into the video. Watching the world burn, July 12th, 2025. Let's get into it. Wasn't that a great video up front? Now I'm going to test out, we'll see, because if you didn't see it, a video up front on YouTube, on ScrewTube or YouTube, whatever you want to call it, I'm sure it got a copyright violation because they had AC/DC music in the video. But YouTube has said that they've got a new AI for either replacing the music, which is what I'm going to try to do. Obviously, you can erase the music, so if you don't hear anything, that's okay. So we're going to try that out. You know, that's one thing about these videos. You're constantly learning, constantly experimenting. So we'll see how that goes. And that video, I got to give attribution. That was done by Alpha Fox. That's Alpha Fox 78. Typical American lake on the 4th of July. The European mind can't comprehend this. so I thought that was, he does put up some wild stuff, man. I mean, mostly good looking women or you know, I don't know, I guess that's why he's named Alpha Fox. All right, so we're going to get into the first, obviously all videos that aren't of a specific topic. You know, I've advertised my Ukraine video, which will be coming up, but this isn't it. This is just a fun video. You know, the day you get is not the day you had planned. And I wasn't going to make a video. In fact, yesterday, I actually took a day, well, kind of a day off. I went for a motorcycle ride. Dropped off some old electronics to get recycled. And got home and trimmed the bushes and then just flaked out, man. Because I've hiked for about 3 or 4 days in a row. Like I said, when the weather's good, you got to get out. But the weather forecast tomorrow is rain. And then more rain and continued rain for the next 2 or 3 days. So I had to get out today and do something. All right, so we got to start with bashing Democrats. That's always important in these videos. So once again, Lindy Lee comes through for me. Boy, I tell you, she's all over X. You know, she's cutting and pasting stuff up. So this is her. Democrats use birthright citizenship, free medical coverage, Social Security, and other taxpayer-funded benefits to entice illegal aliens. You know, and Why do you think they're objecting to the fact that we're trying to get them off of Social Security? Because we gave them all the Democrats gave them all Social Security numbers. And of course, we're trying to eliminate them from the Medicare, Medicaid, free medical care. That's how Democrats were trying to get votes and change the census and everything. But let's continue reading this. Illegals are counted in the census. Yeah, I just talked about that. So you understand how the census works. That gives them house seats. So, and then of course, the more illegals, the more power the Democrats have in Congress, and the more federal funding. You do the math. Let's watch Lindy Lee now.
Because Democrats are accusing Republicans of throwing millions of Americans off of Medicaid and Medicare, and which is just not true, because work requirements is not depriving people of care. Work requirements is ensuring that, as Besant said, it goes to people who actually need it, not people who are able-bodied and able to work a job but choose not to. And honestly, 80 hours a month is not, asking for too much. And there's something to be said. Work requirements is something that Democrats embraced during the era of Clinton, but suddenly it's a bad idea and a bogeyman because Trump wants to do it. And Mike Johnson, not just Besant, but Mike Johnson also is hammering away at the fact that Democrats is dangling the prospect of Medicaid, the prospect of driver's licenses, the prospect of social, all these benefits in the eyes of legal aliens, and thus attracting them to these blue heavy states like California, like New York. And then they blame Republicans for saying, are you doing this? This goes to a topic we're going to discuss later. Are you doing this just to juice up the population figures for the upcoming census? I don't think it's much of a, it's not a stretch when they constantly shove these benefits down the throats of these illegal aliens, and it's basically saying, like, it's shoving out a welcome mat and saying, come here.
Wasn't that great? I tell you what, think about it. She raised millions, if not maybe even probably in the hundreds of millions of dollars for the Democrat Party. And man, is she's torpedoing the Democrat Party every day. I'm loving every minute of it. I guess, she's like me. I had Democrat friends. They all turned against me back during COVID. And all of her Democrat friends turned against her. So she knows what it feels like now. I do too. Why do you think I can't be around a Democrat? Friends of mine, they say, man, you can't just hate them because they're I don't hate them, man. I just can't be around them. They didn't want to be around. They hated me. Don't get me wrong. I never hated them. I didn't divorce all those friendships. They basically sent me emails and said, please take me off of your mailing list or delete me from your contact list. We don't want to hear from you no more. I mean, those were the messages that I got from Democrats. They're vicious people, man. You have a Democrat friend? I'm telling you, they are vicious. So you know what? I'm going to put this off to the end of the video. We're going to do a Chinese fake ballots video at the end. I put it up here in my notes. Hopefully I'll remember to, but it'll be at the end of the video. So I wanted to talk about Dan Bongino for a minute because he's all over X right now. And I wanted to point out, now he's been putting up posts about, some of the accomplishments that the FBI is doing under him and Kash Patel, trying to, assuage, I guess that's the right word, the MAGA people, and saying, look, man, it's not like we're not up here doing good things. We understand that there's some things that you don't like, but daggone it, think about what the FBI was like under the Biden administration. We're correcting a lot of that stuff. We're doing the best we can, and so let's just get his post out of the way, and then I'll talk more about the situation as I see it. An update for you out of the FBI Minneapolis office: 900 pounds of meth seized during 2 traffic stops in Minnesota yesterday in a hit targeting drug trafficking rings. You'll hear about soon. Okay, well, we didn't hear about it because the mainstream media won't cover it. They don't want to give any attribution to Dan Bongino or Kash Patel. We're finding them and crushing their operations. More to come. Thanks to our DEA HQ partners for the coordination, and I got the picture there for you. So, and so that, think about what the media, the partnership between the FBI and the media prior to Kash Patel and Dan Bongino taking over. Remember, CNN being at Trump's house for the raid on Mar-a-Lago? I mean, you know, now they don't cover anything the FBI does. Why? Because the FBI is actually upholding the law. So don't rag on Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. And so I wanted to explain, because I got a comment on one of my videos, and he said, you know, yeah, the FBI is not prosecuting. I was like, you got to understand how the FBI works, okay? It's kind of like, let's just take the example of New York City. All right, so a New York police officer goes out, he arrests, you know, drug dealers, whatever. And then you've got Letitia James, I think that's the attorney general in there. And they bring the case before her, and she dismisses the case, and they're back out on the street. Well, that's the same thing that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have run into. Pam Bondi is a Democrat. She's a deep state operative. And they're bringing a lot of cases before her, especially the Epstein stuff. And she's just dismissing them out of hand and not doing anything with them. So that's why X is on fire right now, saying that Dan Bongino may just resign. And by the way, Cat Turd put out a comment. He says, when Dan Bongino starts up his podcast again, that'll be the most watched podcast episode, probably, maybe even surpass Tucker Carlson, I would imagine. Because I'm definitely going to watch it. Because I'm assuming he's going to talk about some of the red tape that he ran into. You know, I mean, Dan should have gone in eyes wide open. But I didn't think, you know, because Washington, D.C. is a cesspool of nothing but corruption and backstabbing, you know. And Dan kind of knew about that because he was a Secret Service agent. But I think he thought under the Trump administration and with, you know, Pam Bondi, which, you know, we were hoping might be a good attorney general. Turns out she's just a deep state operative, you know, that he could actually make a difference. And what he discovered was that, once again, you know, you're just butting your head into a wall. And so, you know, and Trump sounds like he's going to stand by Pam Bondi. So what's the point of staying in the government, you know, for Kash Patel and Dan Bongino? I hate the fact that probably somebody who's corrupt is going to take over the FBI. But I mean, you know, if Pam Bondi's not going to prosecute anything, you know, you're just spinning your wheels. And plus, look at his reputation. A lot of people think that he's responsible for some of these things. All right, so I just, that's enough on Dan Bongino. Let's continue with the video. By the way, I wanted to talk about something else. It's not in my notes. I meant to get it out up front, but that's all right. It'll work in real well right here, because the same thing was, I think it's, was it Bill Mitchell? I can't remember. One of the accounts, he posted something here recently and said that, you know, nobody's pointing out the fact that Trump is running a surplus, which is news to me. I hadn't heard anything about that. And then you've got shrills like Insurrection Barbie, which, by the way, she puts up some good stuff. I'm not knocking her. I'm just saying that she's just a Trump shrill. She won't look behind the scenes and say, look, you know, Trump's doing some things wrong and call him out on it. She just wants to say, you know, Trump is great. He gave us the chocolate cake. Remember Bill Cosby? so yeah, so, you know, but, you know, these people, they just won't point. So I responded to Bill Mitchell. I said, look, I said, here's the situation. It's Israel first, Ukraine second, Europe third, and the United States fourth, and the Trump or the Donald Biden administration. That's what I call it now. It's the Donald Biden administration. All we've got is a continuation of the Democrat agenda under the Donald Biden administration. So you've got, let's just talk about it. So you've got bombs going to Israel to exterminate. And if you watch my previous video, that was a non-fun video, I'm going to tell you. By the way, I just want to cry on your shoulder for just a minute, just so people understand, because people have been criticizing my thumbnails. Okay, let me explain. You go out for the hike, you get back, you film the video, you got to copy the files onto your on your computer and everything. That's about 5-6 hours right there of work. So then you bring the video up in the editor along with all of the clips that you've put together, along with all the pictures, and then you got to work your way. And then of course you're moving stuff around, and you got to cut the edges off. You're editing, so the editing takes another two, maybe 3 hours. You know, it depends on the complexity of the video. Let me check and make sure the camera's still going. I don't see anything. I got to worry about it overheating. And so then, you know, Then you actually you edit the video. That takes hours. Then finally, you know, you got to write the description. You got to write a catchy title. Think of the title. Of course, I make the thumbnail, which is not very good, obviously. I mean, maybe I'll start spending some time on that. Anyway, bottom line is it takes me a good 20 hours to get a good video like that up and film it and everything else. Maybe even longer when you consider, because I do a lot of for work, you know, like I'm going, yeah, that'd be a good clip to have in a future video. So I'm always moving stuff around. So anyway, just saying. And anyway, so when you bitch about a thumbnail, think about what goes into these videos. So anyway, all right. Well, oh, I was going to talk about Trump, sorry, or Donald Biden, excuse me. So number one, he's giving bombs to Israel to exterminate the Palestinians. We talked about that in the previous video. So he's continuing the Biden administration. And basically, so let me give you another analogy. Biden depleted our strategic oil reserves down to critically low or beyond critically low strategic levels. Okay, so he put our country in danger by doing that. Well, right now, our weapon supplies are strategically low. And Trump is continuing to funnel those weapons to Israel. Not only that, the Congress, which is also a Zionist, they're sending everything to Israel. I mean, voting more money for Israel. You think all that damage that Iran did to Israel, we're not going to rebuild Israel with U.S. taxpayer money? I don't agree with that, do you? I think that I'm America first, baby. I want that money spent on America. So there you go. So you approve of Trump putting Israel first? I don't. Then we get to Ukraine. Now, up until this point, I was willing to kind of say, all right, Trump continued funneling the weapons that were approved by Biden into Ukraine. Now, granted, he could have tried to cut them off, but Congress had already appropriated that stuff. And if Congress came back and said, no, we've already appropriated the money, you have to continue sending those weapons, he would have had to continue sending them. So I was willing to forgive him for that. But guess what he just did? He's gone into our strategic weapons piles, and he's sending weapons now under the Donald Biden administration. These are no longer Biden weapons. These are Trump weapons. Trump owns the Ukraine war, and he's putting Ukraine before the United States, and there's some big announcement coming out on Monday, assuming I get this video up before Monday. I hope so. And then, what's the other one? Well, we got the Build Back Better bill, which is really called the Big Beautiful Bill. About the same damn thing. We're going to spend ourselves into oblivion, basically devaluing the currency and bankrupting the country. So I don't see any difference there. So Donald Biden continued with that. Let's see, what else is Donald Biden doing? We got the weapons. Oh yeah, of course, there's the Epstein files. Donald Biden bowed to I call him Saint Epstein now. If you ever go on my X feed, I've got a picture of Saint Epstein up there with Trump kissing the ring of Saint Epstein. So we're not going to ever learn anything. So nobody's ever going to get prosecuted for the crimes that were committed around Epstein. Hell, nobody's getting prosecuted for anything. Pam Bondi is a freaking deep state agent. She's a Democrat. So she's not prosecuting anybody anywhere. Have you seen John Brennan go to jail? How about James Clapper? Comey? Has Comey gone to jail? Hillary Clinton? Yeah, I could just keep going down the list. Ain't nobody they haven't even brought him in for questioning, man. Ain't nobody going to jail. Now, I'll fault Congress to a certain degree with that, but that's if the Justice Department would just bring them in for questioning, you know, whatever. So nothing's getting done. So Donald Biden is in charge of the country now. All right, so let's get into something fun. And I just wanted to, what might add to the end of the video. So I always, we've been hearing about these hypersonic missiles that Russia is pounding freaking Ukraine with. By the way, every day I'm looking at 500 to 1,000 drone strikes in Ukraine. I just don't see how Ukraine is going to hold up. And I can't wait to see what Trump tries to do on Monday. If he does this secondary sanctions, that's the dumbest thing you know what a secondary sanction is? Let me explain it to you. So what he's going to do is he's going to tell China that he's going to sanction any oil, sanction them for the oil that they buy from Russia. So, like that's going to work real well. You think that's going to stop China from buying oil from Russia? You know, all that's going to do is just, you know, raise the price of oil. I don't think Trump knows what I'm beginning to question, you know, once again, let's get back to Donald Biden. I'm really questioning the cognitive ability of Trump. I'd like to see him take that cognitive test one more time, because it seems to me he's lost his freaking mind. That's just my thoughts. So let's get into, you know, by the way, the United States, to the best of my knowledge, has not developed hypersonic technology, which is amazing because Russia's had it, I know, for years, I believe. And of course, the Oreshnik now is online, and that's an advancement over top of hypersonic missiles. But I always was curious, and ZLATTI-71, Z-L-A-T-T-I 71, by the way, he follows me. I follow him. He does a great job. I don't know where he gets all his information. He must have a team of people that put together his post, but definitely follow him on X. And anyway, so he put this post up about what a hypersonic missile is. Whew, man, I'm sweating big time. I know this thing's going to overheat, and then I'm going to be screwed. I'm going to cut the video off right here, and then we'll just continue with this. I want to make sure that I got it. All right, so far so good. Looked like it didn't overheat. I don't want to watch all of it because I'm sure that might overheat the camera also. So let's get into hypersonic missiles right now. Okay, so there has been some discussion about hypersonic weapons and what they are, with some pundits pointing out that any ballistic missile is hypersonic, so hypersonics are nothing new, right? Wrong. I mean, I'm adding to that. Actually, when we speak of hypersonic weapons today, we aren't talking about traditional ballistic missiles, which have been around since the 1940s. We are speaking, in fact, of classes of weapons which have only recently been deployed. Let's briefly look at the nomenclature of the sake of clarity, for the sake of clarity. All right, hypersonic cruise missile. A surface-launched missile which remains in the Earth's atmosphere for its entire hypersonic flight. It may ascend to stratospheric altitude during its flight, or it may fly at a low level. There is only one surface-launched hypersonic missile in current service worldwide, and that's Russia's scramjet-powered 3M-22 Zircon. I don't like this because not only can I not see the snakes in the grass, I mean, now I'm walking and talking, and you know, you could easily step on, you don't know what you might step on. All right, so let's just keep going. You got ballistic hypersonic missile, an air-launched missile that after separation from its launching aircraft rises into a ballistic trajectory which may or may not leave Earth's atmosphere. Examples of such missiles are the Russian KH-47M2 Kinzhal and the KH-22/32. There exist aerial ballistic missiles made by other countries, however. None are true hypersonic weapons, and more have more than a small fraction of the payload above mentioned Russian systems. Man, you seeing the sweat rolling down? Oh my God, I can't see. Oh man, all right. I can't believe the camera hasn't overheated, or maybe it has. Oh God, all right, here we go. Yeah, okay, we got that. You got the hypersonic glide vehicle, the HGV. I'll be so glad when I'm done reading this. A system where a ballistic missile releases an MARV, maneuverable reentry vehicle, which does not follow a pure ballistic trajectory. Once it exists, the atmosphere I'm sure he wanted to say in the atmosphere. Instead, the MARV uses both rocket motors and aerodynamic forces. See, got to watch where I'm stepping. Where was that? Aerodynamic forces, to follow an unpredictable flight path at the very edge of the upper atmosphere. Whew. HGVs have the following advantages. Much greater range for a given size of booster. As its name suggests, the HGV glides on top of the atmosphere using a sustainer rocket, maintaining altitude without losing speed. This allows the missile to use a much flatter and more efficient trajectory. B, less time to target. The flatter trajectory means less distance to travel. Therefore, less time is spent compared to the unpowered extrospheric coasting phase of traditional ballistic missiles. Whew. Man, some of these words are kind of crazy, huh? You know, I never studied, well, I worked for electronic warfare in the Air Force, but I never studied missile technology. Boy, we're getting an education here, aren't we? Why did I stop? Where was I at? Less time to target, better survivability. The flight path of HGVs in particular, their ability to maneuver in and out of space, makes them extremely difficult to target with even using the most sophisticated atmospheric ABMs, such as the US THAAD, Israeli Arrow 2, or Russian S-400/500. He didn't mention Patriots, I would add that. This is because these systems, as the US THAAD, to release an extrospheric kill vehicle, which engages passive, non-maneuverable targets coasting on a predictable, computable ballistic trajectory in space. The flight envelope of current generation extrospheric kill vehicles does not allow them to reliably engage HGVs. Whew. Gotta take a break. All right, let's keep going. The only country in the world which has proven stockpiles of HGV weapons is the Islamic Republic of Iran, which fields missiles with HGV MARVs such as the K-bar Shikan. Whew. I guess that's it. I'll be damned. We got through it all. I'm sure I'll think of some other things on the video. I got to get to my watering hole, and I'll look through my my bookmarks, see if there's anything we want to talk about more today. I think I've already hit on Donald Biden enough. You know, I'm going to put him in all my future videos. I'm sure that I'll keep coming up with things that, because it's just, we got just basically a duplicate of the Biden administration at this point. All right, man. Peace out. Stay free. All right, I told you, as I think of things, we'll add it to the video. There we go, got it adjusted. And I put up a post on X. By the way, if you're watching this video on X, there's a link in there to the video on the Burn channel on Rumble. By the way, I don't do enough of that promoting. You know, click like and subscribe. All right. And then, of course, you can watch me at the Florida Man News Network. That's FloridaMNN on YouTube. And, of course, I'm that CyberSec guy on Odyssey. And, of course, most of my views come on X anyway. So, anyway, you can catch me in other places. So, I put up this post, and you can do this too. You know, don't take my word for it. So, I asked Grok. So, Grok, what's the difference between a Jew and a Zionist? You know, because all I do is I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and everybody talks about Zion and the Zionist. Trump's a Zionist, by the way. So is Rubio. So is Radcliffe. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard's a Zionist. Although I'm questioning about Robert Kennedy. He did come out and say anti-Semitism is a problem. So who knows? I know there's a hell of a lot of Zionists in Trump administration. But there was a post by Ralph Nader, and he was talking about that a lot of rabbis have come out against in the United States. Last I heard, a rabbi is a Jew. I mean, maybe you can correct me on that. And they've come out in unison against the genocide taking place in Gaza. And I had a good argument with a friend of mine. I'm going to have to do some research. He was saying that Palestine has never been a state. And I know they've been around he says they're just Arabs. And they've been around, well, as if that justifies killing them all, but I mean, anyway. So I guess that's the way a lot of people are looking at it. Not sure I agree with that. And, but anyway, in the post, it was talking about the fact, and it did not say this. Now, there have been people on YouTube that say a lot of Zionists are atheists. And I can believe that because they're destroying all the Christian artifacts and Christian sites all around the Middle East. I mean, if you believed in God and Jesus Christ, I don't think he'd be doing that at all. I'd be thinking that, you know, like Russia. Russia was very careful not to target religious. And that was another thing he was pointing out. He goes, well, Russia's no different. They kidnapped 10,000 kids and brought them in, put them in slave labor. It's like, no, they didn't. But, you know, I got to put together the proof on that. Show me your sources. Show me your sources. And that's good. I love it when somebody just beats me up, you know, because it makes me have to go back and do more research, put together the sources, source everything, and do it right. So when I put together that Ukraine video, it's going to be a lot better now after that conversation. You know, he's saying that, you know, Russia's killed a lot more people than Israel has, you know, because the last he heard was 400,000 dead Palestinians. I said, yeah, but the Palestinians are women and children. He goes, they are in Russia too. They've killed more civilians than Israel. I said, no, they haven't. And anyway, so I got to prove that too. As far as I know, Russia, they mainly just target military personnel and military sites. Now, don't get me wrong, the death toll, he's absolutely right. I mean, you're looking at 1.7 million dead Ukrainian soldiers. We're definitely going to put up some pictures in that Ukraine video of some Ukraine graveyards. So I'll be, you know, to show you, to emphasize, and, you know, and look at the sacrifice what Russia's made. I mean, you know, between 100 and 300,000 dead. You know, you always triple that to get the casualties. So, you know, both sides are suffering immensely. Anyway, so I just wanted to add that to the video to talk about and also promote the upcoming Ukraine video. Now, you have to understand that Ukraine video takes a hell of a lot of work. And you can see where I'm being challenged to make it even better. So we're going to try to put together a hell of a video on the Ukraine and keep, well, and that's the thing. You know, once you make the video, you can't stop. That's a 20-hour day because you know, you got to go because all that information, the next day, everything changes. You know, the city of Pokrovsk is about to fall. Well, the next day it probably fell, and that's the big news. And then your video is obsolete. That's the problem with reporting on geopolitics. All right, I'm just about to the watering hole. I can't wait to be there. That's going to be awesome. All right, I'm going to be shocked if the camera don't overheat now. It's just past noon. Anyway, a couple things I forgot about. We forgot that 5-minute video on the 2000 election where the Chinese were printing up illegal ballots. Let's watch that now.
I'm shocked, and it takes a lot to shock me.
Yeah,
when this story first broke, I thought that there must be some details about it that are more speculative than you can rely on. But the more I read the piece that you published and saw what Cash submitted to Chuck Grassley, there are several levels of this that are concerning almost beyond belief. So obviously the first family itself was taking millions of dollars from China. The Biden first family through Hunter Biden and China CEFC Energy, China CEFC Energy was taking $5 to $10 million in consulting fees from Chinese energy firms as Hunter Biden was flying on Air Force One to China with Vice President Biden in order to secure those deals. Biden's CIA director, Bill Burns, took millions of dollars from China when he was the head of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace for 7 years before becoming CIA director, taking CCP members and putting them on Carnegie's board, as well as forming a joint Carnegie-China center so that they could cooperate more closely. Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State, was the managing director of the Penn Biden Center, which took millions of dollars from China. So all the way up and down the entire foreign policy establishment of the Biden administration, from the White House to the CIA to the State Department, you had millions of dollars being juiced by the Chinese government the entire time. And then the more you think about this story, the more shocking it gets when you think about the massive biggest election censorship event in human history, which was DHS CISA's censorship of the 2020 election, specifically to stop election misinformation, which was all run out of a group that Chris Krebs formed called the Countering Foreign Influence Task Force, which you would think would have been the exact task force at DHS set up to stop something like this and set up to be responsive to something like this, when in fact it did the exact opposite. they told us there was no foreign interference. Now, how does the FBI know this, and the CIA know this, and the DHS task force, who is responsible for stopping the domestic side of this operation, not be informed? How is it possible that this intelligence was circulated at the FBI and CIA levels, but not at the DHS level? And so that is an immediate question for Chris Krebs and Alex Stamos.
Well, we can actually answer the question for you, Mike, too. The document I actually saw the document, got some of the quotes from it. It was circulated to the Department of Homeland Security in addition to the CIA. So they were, now it doesn't say CISA, it does say DHS, so at least the senior component got it. And when it was called back, they asked all those agencies to destroy it. So it was sent out to Homeland.
Now get this. The DHS censorship operation run out of CISA, together with EIP, this 4-group consortium of 120 individual censors monitoring the entire internet across 15 different platforms to censor pro-Trump tweets or anyone who casts doubt on the integrity of the 2020 election. In the slide deck presentations of those censors who were set up by DHS, who got to use CISA's 24/7 cyber mission control to flag tweets, in those presentations, they specifically finger out a specific tweet by Donald Trump on June 22nd, and I'll read it. Rigged 2020 election. This is all caps. Rigged 2020 election. Millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries and others. It will be the scandal of our times. Now, DHS's censorship network specifically cited that tweet as one of the reasons they needed to scramble to form this wide-spanning, totalizing censorship operation. And the fact that they specifically were set off by tweets by Donald Trump insinuating that foreign countries may be printing ballots or taking advantage of the mail-in ballot system in the operation that Cash just laid out, while that was the triggering tweet among several others to set up this entire censorship operation, while DHS had inside classified knowledge that is exactly what was going down and that Donald Trump was in fact correct. So they set up the censorship operation. In part, it would seem to suggest that their knowledge of this at the senior level of DHS or at the Chris Krebs level may have been motivated in part by a desire to keep quiet these various scandals, because as China was backing the entire Biden foreign policy establishment, literally and monetarily, the idea that China would be exploiting this would be a massive, massive, massive scandal, especially on the heels of Russiagate, where that entire apparatus used all of that power and abuse of the FBI and Justice Department in order to go after foreign powers interfering in elections. That could have been a scandal that could have tipped the election. So the idea that not only would they censor it at the FBI and CIA level, but that DHS itself could be activated to censor anyone who might suggest that a foreign body like China may be exploiting the mail-in ballot system.
Wasn't that an interesting video? I wasn't sure where to put it in my videos, because everybody wants to put the 2020 election behind. No, there's no cheating that went on. That was the safest, most mature, according to Christopher Wray. That was the best election that was ever run in the history of the United States. That's what a Democrat believes. You got a Democrat friend? Why don't you ask them if they thought there was any cheating that went on in the 2020 election? I always wanted, I never get anybody that ever asks a question to a Democrat. Well, actually, that's not true. I've had people that say they've tried to ask questions. They just can't figure out either A, how to broach the topic, or B, the conversation gets so shrill that it's just not worth the hassle. So I understand. Don't get me wrong. The other thing I forgot to talk about was silver, gold, platinum, and palladium, the precious metals, baby. Silver just hit, it's hitting damn near $39 an ounce. Now, Mike Maloney on YouTube, he's saying this is the big breakout. That in the coming, he's saying pretty quickly. I don't know what he means by quickly. I would say probably within the next month or two, we might see a $10 rise. So you could see maybe $40, $50 silver. Now, the big question is, when do you sell your precious metals? And Maloney he did a video on that. And he was talking about, you know, that you want to wait till, well, I'm going to wait till the gold-silver ratio is somewhere around between 40 and 20. Right now it's sitting at, even at these prices, because I crunched the number before I came out, it's about 87 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. You know, the typical historical ratio is 15 to 1. So when it gets down between 40 and 20, I might wait till about 30 at least. I'll probably start selling my silver. Now it depends on where gold is at that point. My original plan was to convert silver into gold, but I probably, he was saying you also got to base it off of the Dow, and I got to do some more study on that, and maybe watch it. You might want to watch some YouTube videos on when to sell your silver and gold. So that'll be interesting. And on that vein, I wanted to talk about a post by Pepe Escobar, because this is another reason to own. I've been telling everybody, buy silver, buy silver, buy silver. Nobody listens to that cybersecurity guy. But this is Pepe Escobar, and if you didn't know, the BRICS just met in Brazil, and de-dollarization is happening very, very rapidly. So all them dollars we got around the world are going to come racing home. You're going to see hyperinflation. There's no doubt about it. So let's read what happened at BRICS. The Russian delegation is the second largest at the BRICS in Rio, crammed with heavyweights from Rosatom. I got to get in the shade. I can't read this in the sunlight. Okay, so let's get over here. I'll just have to stand here. Heavyweights from Rosatom, Rostec directors, got a bug on my ear, to top presidential advisor Maxim Oshchekin. I'll just put the text up. So who addressed the BRICS Business Council yesterday? Arguably, it's Russian Finance Minister Shirakov, who dropped the major bombshell on the road to de-dollarization front. The new development bank, the NDB, can become BRICS cross-border settlement hub. And I'm going to add replacing SWIFT. That's a direct, straight to the point, sanction-proof alternative to SWIFT. I should have just kept reading, huh? Got to scroll up. That means that Chernoff stressed the NDB providing loan guarantees for merged infrastructure projects all across the BRICS sphere. All BRICS members ratified the move. Next step, organizing a working group, a mere formality according to Sharonov. China was particularly incisive because Beijing had been working for quite some time to set up a BRICS-supported payment system. This is it. One of the real good results out of the priorities set by the Brazilian presidency in 2025. Let's see what also may come in the first declaration. Now, Pepe was talking about this in another, I think it was Judge Knapp, Napolitano video, and Trump has threatened a 50% tariff on Brazil if it continues with the prosecution of Bolsonaro. And that happened while BRICS was going on. And Pepe said that sent the BRICS people into a spin because they were debating other topics. And Trump is really pissed off Brazil. I mean, he was talking about the fact that they're going to do everything they can to get off of the dollar at this point. He says, we are speeding up things rapidly for countries that really, really want to get away from the dollar. So anyway, you might like Trump, and I think he's just like Biden. And if Trump announces more sanctions on Monday, which I'm expecting, that's more incentive to get off the dollar. So I'm going to tell you, I don't think the dollar is going to be around much longer. A lot of you, it'll be around for years to come. I don't think so. You put enough pressure on people to ditch the dollar-based SWIFT system, you know, what Trump is doing. He's just continuing with what Biden was doing. Biden was doing the same thing. That's why I call him Donald Biden. I think we're going to see the dollar go down rapidly. Well, I just wanted to tack this on to the end of the video. I just saw something that I don't ever see. There was another guy hiking in the noonday heat. Of course, I looked at him. I said, I don't usually see anybody out here. He goes, yeah, it's hot for sure.